In this lesson, we will learn how to add wind effects to our end particles, and we'll also learn how to improve the quality of our simulations, all with the help of the Nucleus Solver. So remember, the Nucleus Solver is the engine that drives the end dynamic system, and we can do so many cool things with it. Let's go ahead and scroll down until we find our gravity and wind properties. So we'll go ahead and start here. We can adjust our air density, which is essentially the amount of air particles we have in our scene. Right now it's set to something really low. Let's go ahead and increase this to about 10 or so. Fantastic. We could also adjust our wind speed at that point. So according to our wind direction, we can then have our speed push our particles in that direction. So right now, that direction is only the x-axis. We'll probably want to change that a bit. But before we do, let's go ahead and increase our wind speed. We'll set it to about 50, and we could always drop it if we need to, but let's start here. Our wind direction, let's say we have some influence in the x-axis. I might drop that influence though to about 0.5. And we could also add a bit of influence in our y-axis. We'll set it to about 80% or 0.8. That way, our particles don't fly as high, but they'll still push up just a bit, again to create something that looks believable. We could also add noise to add a bit of randomization to our particle flow. Let's go ahead and set this to about 0.5. Sweet. And let's see what happens now when we play back the animation. You'll start to see wind affecting our particles. Take a look at how they kind of push over to the side a bit. And you could also see the y-axis influencing the simulation as well. They don't fly up as high. Really cool stuff. Alright, so once we've managed to do that, we could then go ahead and do a quick render just to make sure we like what we see. So I might go ahead and stop at about frame 84 or so. I'll pause the video and create a render. I'll come back so you can have a look at our progress. Here's our render. Alright, cool. So you can most certainly see wind affecting our particles. What I'd like to do is play through the animation a little bit more to see what happens afterwards. So let's go ahead and do that. I might go ahead and save out this image. And then I'll minimize the render view. We'll go ahead and continue to play through the simulation just for a few more frames. Let's say to about frame 112 or so. And again, we'll create another render. I'll pause the video. Here it is. Alright, sweet. So everything's looking pretty cool. I'd say if anything, we might want to scale up our object that the particles are being emitted from just a little bit more so that they're closer to the rim of our opening here, just to make sure that they truly look like they are being emitted out of the ground. So we can do that in the next lesson when we start to finalize things, but I think that this is looking really well. Now let me go ahead and show you how to improve the quality of your simulations from the Nucleus node. So this has to deal with collisions. What we can do is start to increase our substeps. So this is the quality of our collisions. And as we start to increase this value, we start to get a better contact between our particles and our passive objects. So what we can do is increase this to, let's say, about a value of 10 or so. I think 3 is a little bit too small of a value. And then we can increase the iterations within each step. So as we increase this value here, we can get a much more polished look by increasing our max collision iterations. So I might also bring this up a little bit more to about a value of 10 or so. Keep in mind that as you start to increase these values, of course you're increasing your quality, right? But you're also slowing down your performance just a bit. So be very mindful of that. And you can learn more about this in Introduction to End Dynamics. Alright, fantastic. So that's all we really needed to do in this lesson. We needed to make sure that our particles flow in a more natural way. We also needed to make sure that we improve the quality of our particles as they collide with our floor. Alright, well, now that we have finished up here, in the next lesson we'll basically finish up our work in this section by finalizing our particle simulation just to make sure that all is well. And then I'll show you how to cache your end particles.